Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. So kind of want to talk to you guys about a couple different things today. So we're going to go through the route to getting hired as a federal police officer, like what I do, and then we're kind of going to go through your average day as it applies to being an MP too, but we'll kind of keep things a little more tailored to being an Army civilian. So the first step is identify what you want to do. So I knew when I got medically discharged a couple years ago that I wanted to continue what I was doing as an MP. I think I've talked about it before, but my last billet or job that I held when I was an MP was as an operations sergeant. It's kind of a stepping stone for an E6 that's, well on the way to becoming an E7. Typically it's done after you have squad leader time. I never really had any rated squad leader time just because of where I chose to take my career in the Army. I didn't get a squad. I didn't follow the key development path, which is team leader, squad leader, or gunner, driver, team leader, squad leader, platoon sergeant, so on and so forth. Law enforcement was kind of my passion, so I tended to focus more on law enforcement stuff, or just found myself doing that mostly. Sometimes things get picked for you. That's the nature of being in the Army, right? So anyway, so identify what you want to do. So, okay, you're an MP now, you're looking at getting out because you're at the end of your first contract, second, third, retiring, whatever. Have that hard talk with yourself, like, hey, I've done the police thing, like, do I really want to go back in and do that, or do I want to kind of slow it down a little bit and be a guard? There's nothing wrong with being a security guard. It's 0085 in the federal job code series, if you're applying for things on USA Jobs. It's, I heard it explained before, when I was working as a guard at the hospital. I heard it explained as you're a police officer until it stops being fun, right? So you do basically the same stuff, except a lot less paperwork. What's up, man? If you're watching, thanks for explaining it that way. You know who you are. Hope you're good, man. So anyways, decide if you want to take it a step back and be a security guard, or show up, shut up, take the money. Or if you want to be a police officer, basically the same thing: show up, shut up, do the job, do a little more paperwork here and there, deal with a little more BS for a little bit more pay and responsibility. Up to you. You decided yet? Okay, well, whatever. A lot of this applies no matter what federal job you're applying for. So most of this is going to be based on the premise that you already have a security clearance because you're military and getting out, or I'll try and remember to do some injects here and elaborate friction points that may slow you down. Okay, so step one, get your DD-214. Got it? Did you ETS yet? Okay, so once you have that in hand, go home, or before you go home for the day, create a USA Jobs account. So in there, you're going to want to upload your federal resume, talk with the counselors during Soldier for Life Transition Assistance Program, SFL TAP, have them help you get your federal resume in order. There's books on it. If you prefer hard copy books and doing it yourself, hey, cool, awesome. Don't let nobody dissuade you from doing things like that. There's also some pay-to-play services out there. You send them everything you've done, send them some money, they send you back a finished product. Be careful, some of them take your money and run, and well, sucks. Now you're out some money, right? The next thing I would recommend doing is typing up kind of a generic cover letter that you can tailor here and there to, I'm writing, or to whom it may concern, I'm writing to express my concern in the widget inspector aboard Marine Corps Base Quantico, or I'm writing to express my interest in the collision investigator position at Fort Carson, Colorado. Whatever, right? Have it be generic so that you don't have to do a lot with it, and once you get the format and know it's good, you're good to go. And get that kind of done. Sorry, I was listening to the radio there. And then you just tailor it to whatever. Same thing with your resume. Somewhere on there, you're going to want to include a place to put your the job announcement number or whatever. Every place calls it a little different. It's a big alphanumeric monstrosity of a thing. Just copy and paste it from the posting on USA Jobs. So then you upload your federal resume, you upload your cover letter, DD-214, any other veterans preference documents you may have, VA award letters, so on and so forth. Then you go in there, figure out what you want to do. It helps to know the job series. So if you want to be a security guard, 0085. Figure out what location you want to work, what's close to you. If you want to stay at the base you're at, in your home, whatever, do that. Or 0083, which is police, or whatever, you know. I don't have them all memorized because there's 90 million jobs in the federal government. So pick one at a location you want to apply for. Read through the posting, make sure that you are eligible for it based on experience and education, experience alone, education, so on and so forth. Play the game. Click apply now. After you've tailored your resume and your cover letter. FAST class, like FAS, Frank, Adam, Sam, Foxtrot, Alpha, Sierra, whatever you prefer, is a great resource to go through and get information about the position description so that you can tailor your resume. Your resume is scrubbed against a computer program, and it looks for a certain number of arbitrary whatever's in there before it's passed on to Civilian Personnel Advisory Center, or CPAC, Human Resources, essentially. So once you've applied, you've uploaded all that, you've answered the questions on USA Jobs. Every job posting has about 90 million questions. You answer, are you qualified because this? Are you this? Are you that? Do you understand this, that, and the third? So on and so forth. Once you've done that, it's out of your hands. It's become a fire and forget munition, just like a guided missile. Once you launch that thing, it does what it does. So then it's going to go to the computer program in the middle that cross-checks your stuff against the database and whatever parameters it was set to look for to weed out resumes that don't work, and so on and so forth. It's all attrition at this point. So the tunnel's getting lower and lower as you walk down it. The overhead's coming down and down and down until it becomes a funnel and you get very few people at the end. So the next step is CPAC, Civilian Personnel Advisory Center. That's what the Army calls it. Every place calls it a little different. Gets a list of candidates. CPAC looks through those candidates, looks through the resumes again, decides they like or don't like this, and they create an order of merit list. That list then goes to the hiring manager in terms of, or the supervisor responsible for hiring against that position, who would then schedule interviews. Most places strive for fairness and equality across the hiring process. So based on the points that the hiring managers assign your resume when they do a resume scrub, you may end up at the interviews with a completely level playing field for all of the candidates. So don't rely on just your military experience alone to get you the job, because a lot of that stuff comes out in the wash depending on how your hiring panel works. So generally speaking, after that point, interviews are arranged and conducted. Generally speaking, if one person needs to do a telephonic interview, everyone will get the opportunity to do a telephonic interview. If everyone is in the local area and they want to do in-person interviews, hey, cool. get some fancy clothes, borrow them, whatever you need to do. Generally speaking, I recommend a suit and tie for any interview in the federal position or government. Depending on what you're doing, like if you're interviewing to be a guard, you could probably pull off polo and slacks, or polo and or like a button-down shirt and slacks, whatever. I showed up in a polo and slacks to a hiring event as a guard, got the job offer just fine. There was also someone who showed up in a suit and tie for it, so he also got the job offer. So it is what it is, right? Take the amount of risk you're willing to accept. If you really want the job, then hey, go all the way out and get a suit and tie, borrow one, whatever, rent one, whatever you want to do. So from that point on, your interview is scored, and then, you know, if there's 2 openings and 3 candidates, they go through. Whoever scored the highest, those 2 get the positions. If everyone scores equally, they may try and do a second round of interviews as a tiebreaker, or the hiring manager may just decide to, hey, we can't break the tie anyway. We don't want to re-interview or anything like that. We're just going to reopen the position. Don't take it personal like you didn't mess anything up. That's just what they decided to do, because there's very, very specific rules for hiring. I just completed supervisor development course and supervisor 101. I don't remember all of those rules, and I wouldn't release that stuff even if I could, because I haven't been given the approval to do it. The information I'm giving you now is stuff that you can find public source. Like if you Google federal hiring process, you'll find it. Generally speaking, if it's on Google, it's not classified anymore. Not that any of this has any residual classification anyways. It's hiring. Like, you're not building nuclear warheads, right? So, which is actually a job. So anyway, so you may end up getting hired based on your interview, or it may get reopened. Don't fret if it gets reopened. Just apply again. Patience is the key with everything. The federal government, the wheels turn, but they turn slow. But what matters is they do turn. Just roll with it. Apply early before you need the job. And if you have to take a job in the interim, make sure that that is going to pad your resume, not hinder you. So if you go from the military into, oh my God, I need a job right now, and you decide to work at Little Caesars until the job you want opens up, hey, cool, nothing wrong with it. Not the path I would take, because what does that really apply to? How can you apply working at Little Caesars for a couple months to being a police officer? Food for thought, right? So anyways, from then on, we'll assume that you made the grade, got offered the position, whatever. You will then take all commands from CPAC. You will be emailed a link from whatever CPAC representative is in charge of the onboarding process. You'll be given a link to the onboarding system, which is USA Staffing, similar to USA Jobs. You see where we're going here? And from then on, you just go through and complete the things they ask you to complete, ask what they ask you to, or upload what they ask you to upload, and play the game. Once it's done, they'll be able to see it. Make sure you hit your time hacks, your suspense dates, whatever. Whenever I got the email for any federal job I've applied for, I just sit right down and do it and be done with it. That works for me. It may not work for you. Chip away at it, drops in the bucket, still fill it eventually, right? Just make sure you hit that suspense date, or, okay, he really didn't want the job, on to the next one. And then instead of candidates 1 and 2 getting the position, 2 and 3, 1 and 3, so on, may get the job. Again, make smart decisions, right? So, from then on, they may contact you. If you're military and you're just getting out, you may have a clearance already. Cool, awesome, you're good to go. You don't need to do anything until that clearance is about to expire, and then you re-up it. If you're a regular civilian coming off the street wanting to go into the federal government, you're probably going to need to get at least for security guard and police job series, you're going to need to get at minimum a secret clearance. CPAC will guide you through that. I'm not going to go into the nuts and bolts of that because I don't see any issue discussing it. I was never told you can't talk about it. However, to protect myself and you, I'm not going to talk about it. You will be guided through that process. So, enough said, you'll need to get a clearance. Once that's done, everything comes back, you're on record, you're cleared, no problem. You will get another email from CPAC to arrange your start date. That is day 0, the day you first show up to work to do what you need to do. I've showed up, so when I worked at Fort Carson, I showed up in business casual attire, wore that until I got my uniform allowance. Same thing with being a guard. I showed up business casual, polo and slacks until I started training or was issued uniforms. Your supervisor will walk you through that. If you're a police officer, you will get an initial clothing allowance to go out and buy all the cool uniform stuff that you need. You'll be issued your body armor and belt, provided your place of employment has that stuff on the books. If they don't, you may be told, hey, it needs to come out of your clothing allowance. This is what's authorized. This is your left and right limit, what you can and cannot do. This is what we expect you to have. Get it done. Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. Got it. It'll be done. Order it. Shop around. Find the best deals you can. Be smart. That allowance doesn't go a long ways, but it goes far enough. After your first year, every quarter, you'll get a clothing allowance as a guard or a police officer. Guards just get a little bit less because there's not as much wear and tear on your stuff, because generally speaking, you're not outside unless you're a gate guard. So from then on, you will, if you're a guard, you'll be trained at your duty location, generally speaking. If you're a police officer for the Army, because that's what I know, you will have to go to the Department of the Army Civilian Police Academy in Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri. It's 10 weeks long. Show up, shut up, do the thing. No matter how much experience you've got, you will probably not get a waiver unless you've gone to FLETC or I think it's IPTP, UPTP, something like that. I don't remember what it stands for, but there's very few instances in which you will be granted a waiver. Just expect to go. You can apply for the waiver, expect to be told no, though. It's easier to just go and do it. It's easy. You'll learn the ins and outs of being a police officer. If you were military police, it's going to be like going through one station unit training and going through bump T at Fort Leonard Wood. Again, basic military police training program can be the same thing, or basic military police training, excuse me. I forgot it got changed a little bit ago. So it's going to be just like bump T and OSIT. One station unit training is OSIT. From then on, or from there, you go back. You may do your field training stuff after the academy, or you may do it before. Depends on what the flash to bang time is from applying to put you in the academy to your attendance date. I only had a couple months. I'd already worked at Fort Carson previously. Everyone knew me. So it's like, hey, go out on the road. We're just going to do this. Have your daily observation reports completed so that when you get back, we'll just put you right into circulation as soon as you're eligible. You can't work by yourself until you've gone to the academy. And then from then on, you just hit your probation, and then you, as long as you keep your nose clean, don't goof stuff up, do what you know to be morally and legally correct, you'll be okay. Do the job until you promote or the day you retire again. If you're a 20-year retiree, then you're going to be good to go. Sorry, there was a real big buck walking by. What's up, dude? Yep, use the crosswalk, bro. Anyway, so we'll kind of move on from that, right? Actually, belay that. If you served in the military, make sure you ask CPAC about buying your time back so that your retirement formula looks a little better when you get out. I'm not going to go into the buyback process because there's a lot of ins and outs. I don't feel like I can explain it adequately. But basically it helps you on the back end when you retire once you buy back all your time. Excuse me. Yeah, we're not going to get into that. There's a lot of ins and outs. Just know it's a process. Start at day 0 if you can. When you in process HR, tell them, hey, I'm a vet. I'd like to buy back my military time. Generally speaking, it's about $1,000 a year, but it's based on a percentage and a formula calculated using your base pay and a variety of other factors. So you can pay it off all at once, or you can just do monthly payments, whatever you want to do. Okay, so let's move on to what to expect as a police officer if you work for the federal government. So I work where I work. I'm not at Fort Carson anymore. Some of you may know where I work now. Please respect my privacy. Whatever. I try and respect yours. You respect mine. Let's do it. So, the first thing you're going to do is get assigned to a shift. There may be a shift bid in which people with seniority get to pick what they want first based on service computation date or when they started working at the department. Everywhere does it a little differently. Service comp date is generally the fairest because it accounts for all of your time working for the federal government, military or otherwise. So you pick / get assigned to your shift, whatever the case may be. Your supervisor will let you know. From then on, that is your shift until the next time you do shift bid. Love it, hate it, cry about it every day, whatever. That's your shift. It's better to just show up, shut up, and do the thing. Because it'll end eventually. You'll get to do a shift bid. You'll rotate to a different shift. Take the good with the bad, lump it in, learn from it. So, you show up, get dressed. Most people I work with just wear their uniform, pants and boots on the way in, a civilian shirt, or your t-shirt that you wear under your armor. I prefer performance fabrics because it keeps me a little cooler, and cotton kills in the winter, especially once it gets wet. So I like to use moisture wicking stuff, free chicken for you, whatever. So you'll show up, get dressed the rest of the way, whether that's putting on your shirt, your button front shirt, polos if they're authorized, and then either wear your armor under it, or like I do, I wear it externally so that I can take it on or off in a hurry. Heaven forbid I catch on fire. I want to be able to bail out of this thing. If I tackle somebody into some water and we start sinking, I want to be able to bail out of it. Once they're in custody, we can go drag the lake, or I can swim back down and get it, whatever. I want to be able to get out of this thing in a hurry if I need to. So you'll do all that stuff. You'll get dressed. So you show up, get dressed, and then what's next? You get your shift briefing. Just like as an MP, it's called guard mount. Your supervisor or lead for the day will go through a class to make sure everyone is current, everyone's fresh, everyone remembers how to do everything, and then you'll do your thing. Once that's done, you'll go to the arms room, wherever it may be. The order may vary here. You'll go to the arms room next, get your equipment. So any sort of weapon that you carry on the road, with the exception of your baton. Some places issue you pepper spray as a durable issue item, i.e. it's yours to take care of once you sign for it, turn it in when it expires, whatever. Everywhere does it a little differently. It's governed by regulation. Doing what I do, you don't have your own service weapon, you just have one assigned to you that whenever you work or whenever you need it, you go to the armory. Hi, I'd like pistol number XYZ. And okay, here you go, Sergeant. Do you need magazines and ammunition today? No, I've got my own magazines, but I do need ammunition because you have to use government issued ammunition with a government furnished weapon. Rules. So you'll sign for your radio. So you've gone to the armory, you're going to sign for your weapon, magazines if you need them. I prefer to use my own. Ammunition, radio, taser, cartridges for the taser, 1 or 2, dealer's choice, or more if you have them, whatever. It's all weight. Ounces make pounds, pounds make pain. Infantry guys, you know what I'm talking about. And then you may need to sign for OC spray, pepper spray, or a long gun based on what your local SOP is. Golden rule of the academy, refer back to your local standard operating procedure, SOP. So I prefer to have all the tools with me that I may need. So on my shift, I prefer one person have a 12 gauge shotgun, and anyone else, if we got 3 people on, someone else can take a shotgun too, based on whatever they prefer. I always take an M4 because in addition to my pistol, because that's what I'm comfortable with. I shot it for years in the Army. A shotgun is an area of effect weapon. An M4 is precision. Think of it like a sledgehammer compared to a scalpel. Tools to do a job, right? Some fit better, some fit better. So you're going to sign for your weapons. Then, generally speaking, you're going to move out of the armory, collect whatever paperwork you need for the day, your patrol log if you have to do preventative maintenance checks and services sheet. So you basically go out and inspect your vehicle before you sign for it, make sure it's not damaged. Any damage that's done to it is noted on your sheet. That way you're not found responsible for it because you reported it before you started operating the vehicle. You do your wet checks. So anything under the hood, brake fluid, coolant level, windshield wash, bug wash fluid, oil, all that stuff. You do your wet checks, check the tires, so on and so forth. It's a checklist on the sheet. You can't mess it up. Follow it top to bottom, left to right, good to go. Then you may hang on to that paperwork and annotate things throughout the shift, like, ooh, this light came on. Okay, I'll just pull over and make a note real quick. That way we can get the vehicle turned in for services. Or you may just have to keep a note and you get to fill it out at the end of shift. So you go out, do your vehicle checks and maintenance, turn it in, hang on to the paperwork, whatever you're told to do based on where you're at. Then it's time. Call in service. Dispatch, this is me. Show me in service. Show me 10-8. Show me, whatever you guys use based on where you're at. This is dispatch. We show you in service at 2156. Cool. Go out, do your patrolling in your assigned area. If you have them, some bases are small enough that they just let you wander wherever you want. Where I'm at may be different than how you do things. So patrol your area. You may have to do security checks at various locations. Those are defined by where you're at and what you do. Go do them. I like to get them done throughout shift, like at the beginning. That way I can focus on patrolling, doing what I need to do, because I'm responsible for supervising other people sometimes, based on who I'm working with and who did what last week. So if I'm working with a military sergeant of some flavor, whether it's an E5 sergeant or an E6 staff sergeant, 1 week, he may be the lead, and then the next week I'll be the lead. So I prefer to get my busy work done so I can, as soon as possible, so I can be available to my patrols should they need my guidance or assistance with things. At the end of the day, those are just busy work though. So if you get them done, spread them out over the whole length of your shift so that you're never sitting around, because that's what you prefer to do it. But no matter what, any call for service that comes up that you get sent to will be priority over that. So, little footnote there aside. So once you enter your zone, I usually like to make a complete circle, box, whatever, around the zone I'm working, figure out what's going on near adjacent zones, and then I like to kind of quarter it from there. Find a main road in the middle, go north to south, come back up, go east to west, and then just try and go through every single road in that little grid or circle, whatever, defined by the borders of your zone. You're looking for the normal things a police officer on the outside would look for: signs of a crime in progress, that a crime has been committed, things amiss, responding to wherever you're sent to go, based on what the call for service load looks like at your installation. You may not have a lot of time to just drive around, but any free time you do get to drive around, you need to spend getting to know your zone. Unless you're really good at just looking at a map and memorizing everything really quickly, know your zone, know what roads goes where, know what roads you would not want to drive on if the weather gets crummy, so that you're not splashing a car off the road, or This road looks like it might be under construction soon. How can I quickly get from north to south in my zone if this main arterial road is closed? What are my secondary routes? What are my tertiary routes? If all else fails, how the hell do I drive all the way around my zone from the north to get to the south end if everything else is blocked because Jurassic Park happens and there's dinosaurs everywhere and you don't want to deal with, T-Rexes chasing your car? How do you drive all the way around the perimeter of the zone to get where you need to go? Know what routes are open at what times, so on and so forth. You'll learn what areas are quote-unquote problems, i.e. you get a lot of calls for service out of there, whether it's silly stuff like a barking dog and people are just afraid to go have a conversation with their neighbor, or if there's a lot of gear thefts happening from certain company areas because people are bolt cuttering locks and filching people's stuff, so on and so forth. You'll go through your shift, collect paperwork at anything you go to. Generally speaking, it's an information worksheet on who you're talking to. Some places call them stat sheets. Some places have a local designator, 151, 257, 357, whatever, lucky number. You may have to do a statement, a rights advisal, various other things. It all varies by where you are. So once you're done that, you may have to go put in what's called a law enforcement report, casework, or a raw data file. There's differences between them. One has a crime that was committed and the other is more like a report of incident. Like, at this time, on this date, I went here, did this, saw no evidence of a crime. However, due to regulation, I'm required to report it. Done, cool, over. If you have a law enforcement report that you need to complete, it's a little bit more involved. It's not a big deal. Your first few cases will take you a while, but once you get used to them, you'll be able to knock them out in under an hour. So be quick, thorough, and efficient. It's less messing around you're going to have to do later because the desk sergeant red inked a bunch of stuff that you goofed up. It's easier to just take your time and strive for perfection the first time, unless you prefer to just walk things in with the tracers. That's whatever you want to do. So anyways, you may have to do some casework. So the end of your shift will roll around. You'll come back to the station, do your closeout preventative maintenance checks and services, report any damage that occurred to the vehicle throughout your shift. If you were at the PX getting lunch or dinner and somebody booped your car with their car door and scratched it, hopefully you told your supervisor about it, where and when it happened. He came out, looked for it, it was reported, done, over with, cool, annotated on your sheet. Try and park next to somebody else next time. It's all gonna vary. So you'll do those closeout services, or the closeout preventative maintenance checks and services. Sorry, I'm tired, kind of losing my train of thought here. Turn in the paperwork, go turn in your weapons, and then you will move on throughout the rest of your day. Whether that's PT after shift if you're military, or if you're a civilian, you'll get cut loose to go do PT on your own. I recommend always checking in with your supervisor before you leave for the day. Hey boss, I'm about to leave for the day. Do you need anything from me? Oh, hey, don't forget about this online training. Don't forget about this coming up. Or, yep, you're good, man. I'll text you if we need anything. That way it's on, it's documented, whatever. And then you kind of go about your day from there. Anyways, that's kind of a nutshell version of it. Questions, comments, put them below. Take care, guys.